Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. This evening we got a really detailed and specific type of topic we have. It's called a certain purpose development or a certain kind of people. In our communities all across the United States, certain things happen. And these things, what I'm really getting at is the development of our communities. Who decides that all the black people will be concentrated on the east side? Who makes that decision? Who makes the decision to put an air up in a gas station in the black community or a Chinese in the black community? Who making those decisions? And in some cases, the money people say we can't loan you this money unless you put it over here, unless you put your store in this area. So they kind of direct what's going to happen in your community. Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA. This is from the desk of the Emissary. I am Smith-Bey, your host, broadcasting the War Report from a black point of view. We do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. Today, I have a very special co host who's here all the time. And this person is a resident of Houston, Texas. And he's always here to bring us his knowledge, his wisdom, and his energy to make us understand what we're discussing today. I'm going to introduce to some and present to others, not only Mr. Claude Foster.
Good afternoon, my brothers. Glad to be with you on this Sunday, August the 3rd, I think it is, 2024. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I mean, because a certain kind of people,
Yeah.
a certain kind of information, a certain kind of services, while keeping a certain kind of information and services from a certain kind of people, produce a certain kind of response. And it's a complicated subject. Like we don't own the rights to the music that's playing. We really don't own nothing in this country. We don't own our own communities. We don't control our own communities. Our communities are up for sale. In some ways, we've advanced beyond slavery, but slavery still exists. So I look forward to this conversation on this topic because I think it gets to the heart and soul of politics, which is pretty much my area of expertise. And in terms of our representation and then our involvement in politics and how that involvement amounts to any kind of uh, political advantage or political uh, rights that we enjoy within the framework of our community. Like I've often talked, like I think one of the things is how do people get to where they are? How do the least enfranchised people get to be the most disenfranchised people? And again, it's governmental system. We're in a democracy where representation represents our interests, where we have people in politics that look like us, that we fought to put them there, that represent our interests, but yet are not really representing our interests. Because I don't think that we as a people know our price. I mean, we can be bought and sold fairly cheaply. And I think that's what, when you look at when you look at the east side of San Antonio, or when you look at the different wars here in Houston, how did we get there? One, we get there by following white folks, because in many of the black communities in suburban areas, we move in after whites move out, or we move in and whites move out. And they take the resources with them, and what we're left with is what democracy can give us based on the value that democracy sees us having. And I'll give you a quote: the Congressional Black Caucus. You know, when they were asked, their executive director was asked, that represents the caucus. You know, why do we have all the low income businesses, the payday lenders, and the low quality grocery stores, and the convenience stores that sell liquor and cigarettes, all the things that are damage to our community? Why do we have those in our communities? And the response was, "Sir, we're gonna smoke, drink, and gamble anyway." So it's not so much what's done to us; it's what's done to us by whom. And in many cases, it's the system. It's not the racist system anymore. It's not that white Jim Crow guy anymore. It's people that look like us. And so it begs the question is, why do we accept that? Do we know our own value? Do we know how valuable we are? Do we know how valuable the space that we occupy is? And I think that we do. I just don't think that from a political sense, I don't think that we understand the power in politics, because I just don't think that I don't think that we understand that we can demand more than just somebody that looks like us.
Absolutely. Hey,
I think
let me just say this before you finish. Can you describe or give us the definition of a conservative and a what's the other one, liberal?
Well, I think it's
just definition, but what does it mean?
For me, the definition is, we have a two-party system. One party believes in a small government focusing on national defense and international affairs, and one party, which is the more liberal party, sees government as like a big daddy, a big father, if you will. The government's got to take care of your health. Government's got to do this. Government's got to do that. Government's got to do that. And so we are just more inclined to be a member of the party that sees government as big brother and big sister. And so
you're saying we're more liberal than conservative?
Because I think we see our history with government in this country and how we view the two parties, and it's kind of a twisted history. I mean, most black folks up until Nixon used to be Republican, and so that transition and those policy preferences. But I think the people in the black neighborhoods don't even go that deep in terms of politics. I don't think it's at that level of understanding government.
I don't think they do either.
I think it's a matter of who have our leaders aligned themselves with, and whoever they've aligned themselves with, that's who we go with. And that's based on a color consciousness rather than a policy consciousness. Because if it was based on a policy consciousness, we wouldn't have a show today. We wouldn't be talking about what we're talking about today. Why is the black community such a devalued community?
And so, everybody's eye. People look at it like that. Yeah. And they don't want to give us our worth. Like Claude was saying, we are worth a hell of a lot more than they give us. And I wanted to recognize Ken. He's coming in, but see if you can get your video too, Ken. But the powers that be don't recognize the black wealth. We put in over $1 trillion into the economy every single year, and we're putting that $1 trillion in these family names, like McDonald's. That's a family name. Like Versace, that's a family name. Kroger's, that's a family name. All these places are a family name. You got to put it on a shirt though, because you on that school broadcast.
brother,
Can't-
brother Mills.
All right, so anyways, they're not focused on giving us what we really need in our black communities. And I ain't saying they need to give us any damn thing. I'm saying they already got a mentality of who we are, and that mentality does not give us credit for who we really are. We're worth a lot more than the powers at be give us. So today we want to focus in on this certain kind of development, which is really talking about the projects with the certain kind of people who decide what goes in that project. And it's the same about abortion rights. All men are making the decision to not allow women to get a whatever they call it. I don't even want to say it. Abortion on their own. They can't, because it's going to be swept across the country. Right now, it's probably 26 states. I think around 26 states that will not allow you to get an abortion, and that's pretty sad. The way we work is if you got something to say, just start talking, and I'll shut up or he'll shut up, and we just go round and round like that on the topic. But what I'm really going at is these powers, these I'm gonna just be honest with you, these damn white folks that run these companies, that run these cities, they decide what black folks get. In other words, when you got a construction company and they building a project or building a housing development, they don't give a black person a contract until they get almost done with it. And the black person can only he can go in and install the toilets, the sinks. He can do the make ready, basically cleaning the place up. He can do the floors. He can do the doors. But when it comes to the major parts of building a community, black contractors ain't nowhere to be found. You go look on any major contracting, a major working environment where they got a contract with a city, you're not gonna find no black people running shit. If you might find one down in the ditch doing the work, or up on the scaffold doing the work, but not standing there with a clipboard telling people what to do. So,
brother, part of the problem is, and it's systematic, okay? The reason why you don't find a lot of black contractors out there is because of the bonding requirements. I mean, African Americans make up 13% of Texas's population, the largest percentage of African Americans anywhere in the country, in numbers wise, is right here in Texas. What, almost 2 million black folks here in Texas, and yet less than 2 or 3% of all state contracts go to minority firms. So it's a state level problem, it's a federal problem, state level problem, it's a city's problem, because those same bonding requirements are put in place. Some people would argue to deter our ability to compete. So when we look at these systems and we look at these policies and we look at these requirements, who put all these requirements in place? We didn't do it.
Yeah.
These systems are designed to keep our participation at the most minimal levels, and that's where politics. We're in a democracy. I mean, we're in a we elect people to represent us, to pass policies that enhance our opportunities. Politics don't seem to work that way for us. When you look at you say, where do people live? Where do they build low income housing? They build it in minority communities where the land is cheap, where the payoffs are higher, where the governmental restrictions are less, and that's why our communities look like they look. But who plays a hand in that? The people that we elect. They sign off on this stuff. There's nothing comes to our communities like a straight arrow out of a bow. It's got to pass through certain checkoffs. And who are those checkoffs? They're the people that we elect. They're the people that look like us.
Mm.
You know, most of our cities are governed by African American mayors. Most of them are governed by African American females today
Mm.
because we made that
But the
transition.
governorship, you're not talking about the governors, right? So,
No, I'm talking about the places that we live. You know, we're primarily urban population now. We're in most of the urban cities. You know, whether it's Alabama, Mississippi,
anyway.
whatever. Most black folks are not rural anymore. I mean, we're in America's cities.
Mm. Ken, you got an opinion on anything? Come on with it.
I'm trying to catch up with y'all. I'm trying to catch up where y'all at with this. You know. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right. So Claude just brought up a very good point, and it's about the we're the least enfranchised with a city funding operation. In other words, when we build, when the city come in, they'll put all the beautiful structures all over the city grounds, all over the city, and then they'll say, "Oh, we forgot something. We got to have a black community. We got to have a neighborhood for the poor. So we're gonna build 2 or 3 project developments over here where the poor normally resides on the east side, and then we're gonna make it look like we're doing all these things for them. In actuality, we're taking the federal government's money to do all this work, and it's coming into the city. So, like Wheatley Courts, they just built that, rebuilt that. They tore it. They put all the tenants out. I don't know when they initially built that area, but they put everybody out, and then they brought in these contractors. They built up all new apartments, and then they started to replenish. People started to come back into them, but they charged them a whole lot more than what they were getting charged back in when they were in the other one. And many of the people never showed back up because they couldn't afford it. And that's what we're talking about. The disenfranchised are subjected to whatever the city gives them. For instance, Medicare, that's federal. Section 8, where they cut your rent and let you stay at a place, but you don't own anything. Okay, you get power assistance, you get food stamps, you get all these things. During the COVID area, I knew people who had $3,000 on food cards, and I don't know how they were deciding to do that, but that money was basically not put in the right places. And my biggest concern is, like you said, the least privileged or the least enfranchised people getting the least of the city's resources.
Well,
And
tell me this here. Tell me this here. Who's getting the credibility for all this stuff that's going on? Y'all talking about? Who's getting credit for doing what y'all talking about? They're doing in the community.
Well, to me, go ahead.
Who's getting the credit? Who's getting the credibility for that?
I'm
That's
thinking,
the question. You know, if you look at it, the credibility, who's causing all this stuff to go on in the community, we're not reaping the benefits from it because everything they build in our neighborhood, you know, I sit up and ride in the east side over there, man, and that's a lot of building done over there, but it's done by Hispanics. Hispanics done took up.
They do the construction.
Yeah, they do the construction, but even the buildings that's taken over after completion of the construction is taken over by Hispanics. You don't see nobody on that east side that's got a business that's growing. The ones that's over there now, they've been there for years. All the new stuff that's going on over there is taken over by Hispanics. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I ride all the time and look and watch and stuff, and I see stuff going on, man, and I don't see where the benefit of anything that's going on in our black community, we profit from any of that, man. It's and then they started trying to take away.
What kind of building is going on the east side? I can tell you in Houston.
Man, there's a whole lot of buildings going on the east side, man. I'm talking about properties. New restaurants, new taco restaurant, Mexican restaurant, all that
These
stuff
are
going
all
over there,
Mexican
man.
restaurants, privately owned Mexican
Yeah,
restaurants.
probably owned. Now you got that. Some of these properties they built on that east side there. I bet just a property loan costs over $1 million. So you just a property, if you buy the property alone and then build, where's all this money coming from?
Claude, you were
You
gonna say
know,
something.
Well, I spoke to Chuck, because what happens in San Antonio and Dallas and
That's
Houston,
key.
especially when it comes to the African American community, typically happens in Houston first because of Houston's large black population. So, I remember when Chuck was telling me they're building a lot of multi-family units on the east side. Those are managed by the Texas Department of Housing Community Affairs. Those are they say that they don't say that they're low income tax development. They say that they are workforce development, meaning they're for firemen, teachers, those kind of mid professional people when they're really not. Because those kind of people are not going to move in areas where you don't have quality grocery stores, where you don't have good performing schools. So what they wind up is it's just a farce. It's just a mirage, because you can't expect that type of demographic to move in an area that don't have those kind of amenities within the neighborhood, high crime and all this other. So it's a farce. But these are low income tax credit housing ran by the Texas Department of Housing Community Developer. None of these, I've yet to meet a black developer that develop into these units.
There
They're
are
all
none.
whites.
I mean,
I don't know of
haven't
any, and I've been to the hearing.
I was in
I've
that.
been to the
the
hearings up there in
the
Austin.
ones that were the ones that were in there, they're all deceased.
Yeah,
The black builders that was over there, they're all deceased and got too old.
yeah. Because
And
I've gone to
Smitty,
Austin.
I'm gonna bring his name up, but Willie Mitchell was one of the major builders on the east side. You met him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know any in Houston.
Yeah, he one of the major builders on the east side. That's what he do.
Now there are some
So
black
he's
builders.
not even in it no more.
Yeah, but here
Yeah,
again,
I knew him because I used to deal with him.
yeah, politics drives all that, brothers. I
So
mean,
let's look at the services that they put in our communities now.
Oh yeah, almost definitely, man.
Let me go to the services that they put in the black communities, in the poor, underprivileged communities. We already know that this is what the city and the big boss man develops that area, and they decide what money will go into the building of a new structure in that area. But they don't put the things that the people really need. Where is the nearest hospital to the east side? In my opinion, is too far away. Why is it out here in the other sections of the city? You see one of these quick aid stations like every 10, 20 miles. I mean, they're out here. It's hundreds of them here, but there's not one on the east side, not one. And that's a damn shame. You got chain restaurants all over the place, but you have none on the east side. And Starbucks, the only one that came in there. But see, Starbucks, when Starbucks come in, it's almost an indication of gentrification, because all of these houses on the east side, these developers, that's what they call themselves, but those are the people who've already had a meeting about it, and they know that this is going to happen. So they go in and buy up all the property. For instance, right there next to 1850 East Houston Street, there was a big lot. I mean, about 4 acres, I believe. And there's a church right behind it. They own that property. They sold that property to that white man for $50,000. All of that property. So this white man put one house up, and he sold that damn house for $290,000. Just like that. And then he didn't put a second house up over there now. He might be working on the third one. But the lot he told me it's going to put 8 houses in that lot. So what I'm saying is, they know before we don't know shit until it's almost at the end. Like when they were doing concealed handgun training. When this first came out, nobody knew, no black folks knew about that. All the white folks went down and got their license to teach the course, and no black folks did it because they didn't know that they had the opportunity to do this. And that's across the board. When they know money is coming into the city, the white folks get together some kind of way, and they decide where all that federal money is going to go. And it damn sure. And when at the end of the day, they're going to say, "Damn, we forgot about the East Side. Let's put 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 from all of our accounts over there and make them think they're getting something." But go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was in San Antonio when the Spurs was relocating to the East Side, right? And all those businesses, those top tier businesses, those restaurant chains and all like that, they promised they made promises that all these businesses were going to be built within the community. So when people come into the game or whatever, but you would have all these developments outside that stadium. It never materialized. What did they build? They built a highway system that brought people in and get them out as fast as they can get out of there.
You're right.
Because the black community, I don't care whether it's San Antonio, somewhere in Mississippi, somewhere in Alabama, in Houston, black communities are devalued. And we elected people to look like us because we thought that would be the mechanism of the body that would increase our values and demand our equality within these communities. And it just hadn't materialized. And until we hold people more accountable, until we hold elected officials more accountable, I mean, nothing is ever going to change. I mean, America is about business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know of probably in LA with Magic Johnson's theaters, but I mean, our young people, in order for them to go to venues for young people, they got to go outside of their communities.
All right, let me ask a question. There is an abundance of police in the black communities. I'm believing that they are over policing the black communities. They are over arresting in the black communities, and they're trying to keep the black communities subdued, and because of that, they're coming out fighting. Now, if you push a badger into a corner, what do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna come out kicking ass and taking names. He's gonna do it. So right now, the East Side has been crunched so bad with the black folks that black people have started. A lot of the younger kids are into guns. They're shooting at each other. It's a lot of young violence over there, and the police are riding these streets. But the kids are so smart now. They know how to dodge the police and not ever get caught by the police. But sometimes they do get caught. But for the most part, it's too many police cars in the black community. That's what I'm seeing right now. But they validate that by the crime levels coming out of that zone. And I think that the new cops that come on the beat for San Antonio, they got to spend 6 months on the East Side or a year on the East Side before they can go anywhere else. So they put them in the worst scenario they can find, and then they go somewhere else. So I'm thinking, last statement, I'm thinking that they use the East Side as a training base for damn near everything. They put the shot collar shit on. That shit didn't work. Go ahead.
But I think a lot of communities, I mean, if you go to, I know like here in the Houston metro area, I mean, we go to civic club meetings with the police and stuff like that. Elderly black citizens are asking for more police because of safety concerns. And I mean, I think so. Most black communities want it ain't the policing. They want better policing. They want the presence of police, but they want the police to be a part of the community and not be a invading force in the community. Because if anybody cares about security, it's people in our neighborhoods, in our communities, because they're the ones that are victimized by crime. So they want policing. It's the type of policing. They don't want a heavy-handed police force. And so oftentimes we don't get the kind of quality policing that respects the community. That's what people are against, not the fact that we get policing in our communities. But here again, man, I think the people that many of the people that we're talking about in terms of understanding how government works and how they got to be more engaged in government to make government more responsive. I mean, they put low income tax credit developments in minority communities because you can make a profit. The convenience store industry, they have a lobby. It ain't that little mom and pop store that you see on the corner that's in Washington, D.C., lobbying elected officials at the state and the federal level. They have a convenience store lobby that represents their interests. So these people got powerful forces behind them, and who do you think they're talking to? They're talking to members of the CBC that represents the communities. When the low income tax credit development wants to come in and build a neighborhood, they got to get signed off by the state representative. In many cases, that look like us. So it's government, man. It ain't. Things just don't happen in a vacuum anymore. We got people that look like us that we elect. They're supposed to be looking out for our interests. That are there every day. That you paying their salary. They're up in Austin every day. They should be just as concerned about the lack of opportunity with African American businesses as we are talking about it on this show. So until we hold people more accountable, rather than not what they look like, but their actions, and we're never gonna move the needle.
Why is it? Let me broadcast first. This is BNN 247, the Black News Network. You can reach us on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. and again on Sundays at 3:30 p.m. Thank you. Go ahead, Claude.
I'll give you an example. Wherever you live at in San Antonio, your representative is representing your interests. They're keeping your neighborhood safe. They're keeping certain elements and types of businesses out of that neighborhood. The fact that our elected officials can even utter the utterances of black people gonna smoke, drink, and gamble anyway, so these types of businesses got to be somewhere. Until we hold that type of attitude accountable, nothing's ever gonna change. You got people on that council in San Antonio that represents the East Side. If there's an oversaturation of low income tax credit developments, which attracts the criminal element to a community that endangers the people that have built their homes and their lives there, and he's allowing that to happen. He's not accountable, and neither is the community or the community's leaders holding him accountable. Because every one of these tax credit developments that get built got to get city council approval, because they're asking for either a tax credit. Tax credit, 10%, or I forget the percentages. They're asking for that from the city government. The government has to sign off on those developments.
So it's all sanctioned. Everybody is in cahoots with getting it done,
and
except for the people.
The elected official, the state rep for that area, for District 2, just like it is here in Houston, has to sign off. The school board, has to sign off on those developments. Your state rep, who's supposed to be representing the community's interests. When something is even being considered, there should be a meeting with the community to determine whether or not that's what the community wants.
If a contractor wanted to put something on the East Side in the black communities all across the country, they connect with the city council people, and somebody in there is getting a kickback so they can approve what this contractor wants to do. So money is flowing. Why is it that when people go into offices, they get rich when they go to Austin? Well, because I've seen a representative come from Austin with a plan to build their neighborhood community. They had stores, they had walks, they had a beautiful layout, and they are building it now over on the east side. But who gets paid for all that? Somebody, she or he is getting a lot of money for doing things like that. And I don't like the way they come out rich. And you know, city government, they get kickbacks, but state government, they get lots of money.
Well, they get a tax base, but what I'm saying, man, I don't think that. I think we want to put the response. One of the things, and why I work with Chuck so much is we have to. People have to understand. People have to know their value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for so long, black people have been devalued that we don't understand. You know, we still think that we're back in slavery and we're only 60% of a person.
Mm-hmm.
We're 100%. We have value. And our value is the same as the value of the people that live in your neighborhood or the people that live in the suburban neighborhood. As
every district in this city is ran by Hispanics.
well, I mean that's okay. San Antonio is a majority Hispanic town, but District
That's
do.
right, exactly. That's
But
why it's the way it is.
but
Because
it doesn't.
everything is run by
But it should.
Hispanic.
But it should.
Downtown City Hall is ran by Hispanic.
But
The
it
police
shouldn't.
department is ran by Hispanics.
But it
Everything is
shouldn't
by
matter.
Hispanic.
But it shouldn't matter whether they're Hispanic or black or whatever. If you know who you
It
are,
matters.
if
It
you know
matters,
who
man.
you are, if you know your value, you shouldn't
Okay.
depend on the nationality of a
Issue,
person.
people, we don't know our value when we're stuck in these little communities. We don't know what's happening out there. We don't know the value that we can bring to that city because we don't venture. We stay right there where they want us to stay, and they give us incentives to stay there. They start paying your rent right there as long as you stay on the east side. They start giving you food stamps. They give you the
Yeah,
things to keep you in place, and
yeah,
that's what they.
but if you're gonna build a low income tax credit development, and you sold it on the idea that it's for this type of person, this type of person, this type of person, and you're saying that it's a better quality of facility, it replaces dilapidated, outdated apartment complexes. You got the modern conveniences and stuff like that. If you're gonna value people to build a facility like that, like I'll give you a good example during this last storm barrel in Houston. I mean, you had people here dying because you don't have. We're on the Gulf Coast. You don't have generators in nursing homes. You don't have generators in these multi tiered apartment complexes that got elevators for seniors. When the power goes out, the seniors can't even get out of their apartments because there's no generators. So somebody has to be minding the store. A profit person, a person that builds a development, he's trying to maximize his profit. So who's responsible for making sure that the people that are most affected are taken care of? We
The
say
certain kind of people,
it's
the certain
government.
kind of people
It's the
who
people
are
that you
who's
elect.
allowing the certain kind of people who allow us to get certain information. They're not going to tell us the whole story. They're going to give us bits and pieces where we can feel satisfied because they letting us know they're going to give us this. I
But
don't
brother,
want a contract putting toilets in. I want a contract building a development. But
but brother,
they're restricting black people to dumb contracts, like demolishing
but
them
who's
old
restricting?
houses
But
in the city.
Who's restricting black people?
These people that we don't know, these certain kind of people, those are the people that are in places in these governments that are there to specifically make sure we get a little bit and we don't get the information we need. They are all across this government. People that stay, they're like what Chuck call them? What did he say, Ken? He called
Gatekeeper.
he called them something. Gatekeepers. These
Gatekeeper.
gatekeepers don't allow the information to flow where it's supposed to flow. For instance, Obama gave the I don't know the name of the program, but he gave all this money to the East Side in San Antonio as a trial program. That money was supposed to go to the poor people, but they are not the ones who got that money.
You got
People
you got
with
you got
businesses for years
you got a
and
black
millions of dollars got that money.
you got a black county commissioner that represents your district.
Mhm.
You got a representative. You got a District 2 representative.
that ain't
in
black. He
government.
ain't black.
It
He
doesn't
more
matter.
Mexican than black.
You should, but
They
the
do
people
matter
gotta
too.
hold. But the people gotta hold the people accountable. Now you may say, see, this is where I think we get in trouble at, and Chuck talks about this all the time. I wore this shirt for a reason. If you know a thief is coming, would you go to sleep? If we know that we're in a racist system and
Mm.
we are not educating the people about that system and helping them hold the people that are over that system accountable, whose fault is that? If we know this already, we know that up front.
It's our fault because
We know
we're
it up front.
watching them trample us. That's
You
what
got to
we're
end
doing.
up. You got an NAACP right there in the heart of the black community. You got
Only
all these. You got
effective
all
when
these different black organizations. People join these organizations for a reason. The NAACP got every committee that we could ever talk about on this program: economic development, education. Every committee within that organization, within that structure, right there in San Antonio. So
Mhm.
there shouldn't be nothing coming into that community. There shouldn't be nothing that is being proposed for that community that representative
So are
of the
you saying
people.
that the black people know? Some black people know, like the NAACP? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that they have committees with the ability to know that
Mm.
to address every functional
Okay.
area that we're talking about: economic development, education, you name it. They have the NAACP structure has a committee, but you got other organizations there. You got nonprofits there.
So how can we change these policies? I mean, the policies are right now are keeping us down. They're like an elephant sitting on our shoulders. How do we get into the government and start
Well,
changing some of
I
these
mean,
policies?
you say it every week. I mean, we have a democratic system. Texas gets big, because of Texas's population. The state of Texas gets billions of dollars from the federal government. They
Mm,
don't send it to District 2 directly. They don't send it to the cities. It's managed by state agencies. So to the
mm.
degree that we don't vote, look at the people that look at the views of the people that are managing the money that comes from the federal government. It may be coming from a liberal source, but it goes through every administrative agency in Texas is ran
Mm,
by the other party. Is
mm.
ran by
So,
the
so you
people with
saying
the.
if we voted in bigger packs, we can
I'm
change the trajectory of the way they treat black people in our
I,
black community.
I'm saying that if we voted more strategically, if we voted with a greater understanding of leveraging our vote, regardless of which party it is. But see, we are so fast infatuated by we. It's like right now, women are the leadership in the black community now. I mean, you got women mayors, you got women in the state house, you
Why
got
do you
women
think?
judges. I
Why do
think
you
it's
think?
just part of that transition. Women
No,
out.
they got women in these places
Now let me
because
finish. Let
the
me finish,
white
bro.
man
No, let me
feels that
finish.
he can get along better with the women, the black women, rather than the
Well,
black man. And
I'm
when
not
it was
so.
mandatory, they were giving black women more opportunities than they
Well,
were
I'm not.
giving black men.
I'm not sold on that. One, I think that there's more black women. I think
I'm sold on
more black women are in college than black men.
it.
Black
Mhm.
women take advantage of a lot of the opportunities, and I think black women are able to mobilize coalitions better than
So,
black men.
so
Let
Clyde,
me
you
finish.
telling me
Okay,
you
like
don't think
okay,
the white man has a big hand
I don't think the
in
white
making
man.
sure these black women climb the ladder and
I
get
don't
through the
think.
glass ceiling?
I don't
Is
think
that
the
what you
black man
said?
is. I don't think the black man is. A white man is orchestrating black women. I think black women are able to build coalitions in ways that black
Of
men
course.
can't build.
I'm saying most of the black women are
But
just like you said, but there are some in some agencies. There's a certain percentage of black women that are climbing the ladder, and breaking the glass ceiling because a white man is taking them there. Look at Washington D.C. Look at the
okay,
vice president. Look at Jackson on the Supreme Court. Who else? There's a few more black people in power. Look at Clarence Thomas, black man in power. Both black people on the Supreme Court married the white folks. The
well, what
vice
I'm saying.
president married to white folks. That's
So
the problem.
you don't think it's easy? I think it's easier for black women. I think that they've taken advantage of the opportunities that
They
has been
should.
afforded them
I commend them for that.
to our benefit. And I think that it's easier for black women to build coalitions than it is
Mm.
maybe for black men
They're
sometimes.
less feared than we are. These people are afraid of us, Claude.
Well,
That's why
should
they
we
don't
take it?
give us opportunities, because they don't want us in their vicinity too close, because they are afraid of us.
See, I don't
They,
have a.
they don't even want to give us enough to build our own communities, but they
See, I don't.
definitely don't want us in theirs. Why you,
I,
like you said it at the beginning of the show, when we move into a neighborhood, white folks move out.
That's
That's what
right.
we do.
well,
That's been like that for years.
yeah, because right, we know that, right? I mean, that's just part
That's
of the
a fact.
history.
Yeah.
That's just part of the history. I mean, I'm in Houston, but I'm in Pearland. Uh, the black population in Pearland, I think, is about 22%. Uh, I don't know what suburban area you're in San Antonio, but Houston ranges in terms of we got about 30 some suburban areas that make up the Houston area. And they got percentages of African Americans from 3% all the way up to Missouri City, which is maybe 30 to 40%, almost half and half. And so what I'm saying is, but most of the places where black folks live are governed by black folks.
Right.
Are
But
governed.
they still don't get what they
In
need
fact,
to get.
we owe it to Texas the reason why we have black representatives.
So
Texas.
do the
No,
black
let me,
representative mean anything?
well, let
You
me tell
mentioned
you.
it a few
In the,
times. What does it mean to have a black representative?
well, what it
We
means
don't get
is,
anything more
but
because we got a black representative.
that's our fault, though. That's
Yeah.
our fault. I mean,
Yeah.
white
We
folks
don't
are
hold them
in,
accountable.
in the 70s. White folks complained to the government because people in rural areas had more representation, had more influence than they did. So the Supreme Court created single member districts. Well, what was the next step? If you want if that was in 73, what was the next trajectory for that? Black single majority minority districts, which was an offset of single member districts. And we got majority minority districts. And we've had majority minority districts that represent the very spaces that we're talking about. So why is it after all these years these spaces still look like that?
We still don't have enough
because
representation.
because we don't hold the people in those spaces accountable. We
I,
don't.
I, they ran for city council in San Antonio, District 2, and they said, and this individual said, let it fall where it may. I mean, he was on the ballot, but he did not do any advertisement. He wasn't out in the street meeting and shaking hands and holding babies or kissing babies. He was not doing all that. He said, if I'm supposed to win, I will win. Let God move me.
Yeah,
How
because
you
that language, because that type of language, that type of religiosity appeals to. They think it appeals. Let God take care of it. If it's God's will, I'll get elected. It's that kind of. That's how we're talked to. That ain't politics. That is not.
Man,
That is.
I can remember back in the 70s
Uh,
and the 80s, whenever they had a political debate, a political rivalry, or delivered to voting and all that kind of stuff for city council,
yes, sir.
the polls used to be full, man. I mean, that's the neighborhoods, whether you sit District 2, District 3, District 4. Well, I mean, the churches was involved, the preachers was involved, getting people out of the streets, putting out ballots and all this kind of stuff, man. That's where it used to be like that. But it's all that's gone now, man. They don't get out of the street and do that no more.
Yeah, because
Putting up signs and then putting up people walking the streets, putting up ballots in their doors and all this kind of stuff. They ain't got that like that no more.
Because back in the day, back when we first started getting people to look like us, it was new. It was exciting. We thought that was the answer. We kind of went to sleep. we
Oh,
kind of got.
it made a big difference. They made a difference.
Are we
Believe
woke
that.
now? You know what you're saying? You're saying we woke now, Clark?
No, I don't think we're woke. I
You
think that
said what now?
I don't think that we're woke. I mean, when you look at
What does it
you know,
mean to be woke, though? I don't get it.
you know, politics is not a passive sport. You just can't register and say, okay, I'm done with it. You got to be engaged. You got to be calling that elected official. You got to be going to meetings. I mean, that's that's the way it works in America. Black people, I think sometimes we think, okay, I got Brother Bay. He looks like me, so he understands my interests. So he's gonna be out there fighting for me. He's gonna make sure he's at all the meetings. I think we
So how
expect
do
too
you
much
keep
of our elected officials.
how do you keep black people from those meetings?
How do you keep them from
You
them?
you pay them less money because they got to work harder to support their families, and they ain't got time to go to no meeting. They
Well, I
working
would.
two jobs
Well,
to
I would just
get
draw
that
your
child
attention.
in
I,
daycare,
I would
and they're
just draw your
trying.
attention to history. That's not true. I mean, we were going to meetings when we were making nothing, and
Hmm.
we was marching and
You're right.
protesting. We wasn't making a dime. So I don't hold to that belief. I think it is. I think that I think that we put. I think that it's just like the Bible being taught to us, right? By the slave by the slave master. They taught us certain passages, right? It's just
Mm.
like the civil rights movement. Where did we go? Where did the movement start? It started in the churches. The
Mm.
pastor
That's
was the
right.
so we're
Those
used
in
to
the circus.
we're black people. We have a different style. We have a different way of doing business. I just think today, where money is so much a part of politics, there ain't no different than a black politician and a white politician when it comes to that push and pull. And if corporations got the money, like the convenience store industry, if they making if they're attending the Congressional Black Caucus and going there with a $250,000 or $500,000 check, you know, the the advocacy against that type of business in the black community by the people that we elected to protect our interests just ain't gonna be there. And like I told you, in 2010, the Congressional Black Caucus chair said, when asked why do you take money from those kind of industries that are harmful to the black community, her attitude was black people gonna smoke, drink, and gamble anyway.
Mm.
Politics, politics today is you know politics today, man, is influenced by money. To the degree that black people don't have a lot of money, we don't have a lot of influence.
Mm.
We pray and hope that if I elect Brother Bay because you look like me, you're gonna do the right thing. And that just ain't the way politics works. And
We
until we
normally don't get
realize
it.
that, what Chuck, I mean, I started a PAC, a grassroots bold leadership PAC. Chuck wants to start a PAC. And I understand because through that PAC, he can educate people. But what I'm
Mm.
saying is, man, that's just the way politics are in America. And I don't see it going back
I
to the
got a question.
days when
How do you get people to start meeting? I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I've
well,
tried.
it ain't
went to a
necessarily. I
meeting.
mean, we got more avenues to communicate with each other today than we've ever had in the history of this country. I mean,
Mm.
we technology. I mean, we got technology where you can have a mass meeting from wherever you are.
Mm.
We don't have to go to a church or meet at
Mm.
a community center anymore. And I guess what I'm saying is, I just think that we've gotten so used. Most of the black elected, Sheila Jackson Lee just died in office after 30 some years in office. The
Mm.
congressman up in Dallas died in office after 30 or 40 years in office. I think that as black people, most of our black churches, the pastor can pretty much come there as a young pastor and stay there till he dies. I mean, I
Mm.
just think it's who we are as a people. It's how we've lived our experience in this country.
Well, how are you developing in Pearland? What's the key in Pearland to get people to get out and listen to what's going on and everything? It ain't
Participate.
like they don't know. It's just that
Well,
they don't see nobody stepping forward to do anything.
Well,
That's the whole issue right there.
I mean, you have people. I mean, Pearland, Manville. I mean, you have an engaged population. You got NWCP branches in these areas. You got. I know the
How
branch
strong on it?
the branch
How strong
president.
on it?
Huh?
How strong on it?
Well, I mean, of course, I
Well,
mean, it's
look,
a lot.
we got
It's a,
enough.
it's
We
a
got
lot
enough
different.
churches. We
It's a
got
lot.
enough churches on the east side where
But
if they all were focused on voting, then we'd have 20,000 votes for city council. But we only had 2,300 votes to elect this guy into our city council this time.
and
Just
obviously, here's the thing. I mean, you know, I forget his. What's your council member name? The district two
Jalen,
council. Yeah,
Jalen,
Jalen.
I
You
don't
know,
remember the
I mean,
name.
he's a young guy. He's a progressive. He's a liberal, and and
You
and
talking about
and
Rodriguez? That's what you talking
Yeah,
about.
right.
Jason,
But you
Jason
got to remember,
Rodriguez.
in order for him to win, I looked at his campaign finance report. That guy got small money donations from all over the country. That's who put him in office.
Why?
Because
You know who put him in office?
well,
Who put him in office?
well, I know the GLBTQ community
The
supported
what?
him. The GLBTQ community, they supported him with their dollars because
Yeah.
they have an agenda. We have to politics in America. We have to start understanding that we've been told for so long that our vote is our voice. Our money is our voice too.
Mhm.
And to the degree that we are like where you live or where I live, I don't have to. The space that I occupy ain't devalued. The space that you occupy is not devalued. So
Mhm.
there is nothing that you have to. You don't have to be so engaged politically because your space is you're not the majority in that space. Just like I'm not the majority in
So,
this space.
so let me go ahead. I'll let you. All
No,
right. Well, this
I'm
whole
just saying.
thing.
I'm just saying that there's a difference in the spaces that Black people occupy today. We're not all in the same space like it was when I was growing up in Alabama or you was
Mhm.
growing up. Because of opportunities, because of whatever, because of opportunities, because of luck or whatever, you're in a space where you're not the majority. But if you
Mhm.
look at majority Black spaces, they are devalued. They are
Mhm.
undervalued.
So,
And
and that's
and the people that
exactly.
represent those spaces,
Mhm.
unless we hold them accountable, and you can help hold them accountable. I can
Mhm.
help hold them accountable.
Look, that's exactly why we are where we are right now. We were talking about people that are in places that can keep us where we are. And that has been the problem all along. But we see another problem, which is the voting population of our communities and the education and civics in our communities. If they knew what you and I and Ken knew about voting, then maybe they would start to come out in droves because it's too many black people and it's too many black churches on the east side of this city, San Antonio, where it should be 20,000 people voting. It's like 150, 200 black churches over there and some around the city too with thousands of people that are members. So there's no reason in my mind that we cannot muster enough votes to make a difference in our communities.
Well, first of all,
Go
the
ahead.
state of Texas, you know, I mean, the people that are not voting, I mean, the state of Texas, the minimum wage in Texas is still $7.20 an hour or whatever.
What happened if you raise the minimum wage to like $15? I can tell
But
you.
no, I'm just saying,
Let me tell you.
before we start talking about the voter,
Mhm,
people are working. People are working two jobs. People don't
mhm,
have time to go stand in a long line.
mhm.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is Texas continually tries to make it much more difficult to vote because
Mhm.
Texas
They
population is
know
changing.
they're gonna raise it to $15 because what that's gonna do it's going to eliminate the poor people and it's going to keep them poor because the companies that hire, they're going to look for more qualified people that they're going to give that $15 an hour to.
Well, $15 an hour ain't $15 an hour ain't no money, bro. I mean, that's you still
money
gonna be,
for somebody. They not going to compete.
You still gonna be at
the poor people will not compete when the money is $15 an hour. That would take us a step down instead of a step up. There are things that are happening at the result of raising the minimum wage.
Who represents District 2 in the legislature?
Rodriguez.
No,
at the state. Barbara Hawkins.
How often has Barbara Hawkins, whether it's housing, whether it's new developments, because Barbara Hawkins has to sign off on every development that's been built on the east side. That's state law.
And she signed off
that developer has to
create her own development.
No, right. And it's a low income tax credit development. And I'm not saying that low income tax credit developments are bad, but you got some bad landlords. Those places are cheaply built. They look good, but they're there for profit. And what I'm saying, every development, including hers, I don't know whether she had to sign off on her own, but every development has to be signed off on that state rep. That's in state law. How many meetings have she had with the community to say,
every month?
The community is this? No, to ask the community, is this what the community wants?
She has a meeting every single month, and I've been attending those meetings.
Well, do y'all bring this stuff up?
Huh?
Does this kind of stuff get brought up? I mean, who attends the meeting? I mean, are the people people in District 121?
I think it's 121 or 120. Those are the people who attend, and they talk about. I just listen most of the time about anything that's affecting the Black community on a higher level. Nobody digs down to the poor because nobody wants to talk to or talk about the poor people. And they don't want to do it because they feel like they're too needy. We need to do too much to bring them out of that. The same with the homeless population. They don't want to deal with the homeless population. Those two areas are areas that no city wants to handle. They can't handle the homeless, and they cannot handle the poor population.
One thing about the Black community is not monolithic. When I was serving on council, District K, 200 these districts in Houston are 200,000 people. These are small cities, and it's not monolithic. You got middle income people in District 2 whose values and needs and wants are the same as any Black person living on the north side of San Antonio.
You talking about the poor people?
No, I'm talking about the Black community in District 2 is not a monolithic community.
People, but middle class people. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, they got the same wants and needs, and just like if they was living in a suburban area.
So what does the poor people have those needs too?
Well, but see, this is where it gets tricky. What I'm saying is most of the political class is going to come from the middle class. Most of the political class is not going to come from the people that are devalued in these communities. And so unless they're engaged, unless they're involved, either financially or from a voting standpoint, their voices is not even heard. Because the only voices that are heard are the people that attend the meetings. They don't go to the meetings. They may be encouraged to vote in an election with scare tactics, like now in a federal election. Oh, it's important for you to go vote because these policies never get down to their level. And so the Black political class comes from that middle class. It doesn't come from the people at the bottom. It never had, even during segregation.
Yeah, it has. When Fannie Lou Hamer went to Washington, D.C.
I mean, that was exceptions to the rule.
She's a poor woman from Ruleville, Mississippi.
Yeah,
with no money, she made it all the way to Washington.
But by and large, the Black political class comes out of the Black middle class because of money.
I agree with you on that.
And education. So until the people at the bottom of the well get more engaged, get more involved, but you got a system that doesn't make it easy for them to be involved because
That's
it's a financial system. You
that's
got a
the old.
system that's based on economics. The more
Mhm,
the more economics you got, the more you can participate in politics.
mhm.
So one or two things got to happen. Either they got to have representation. Why do you think unions and these different organizations exist? Because their voices can be heard on a much larger scale. And
Mhm.
so, to the degree like in San Antonio, I know there's a TOPS organization in San Antonio. You got unions that they belong to, but when it comes to black folks, that's issues in general. But there are specific grievances that black folks have that black elected officials understand. Like you said,
Mhm.
the proliferation of these service stations in black communities. We got more service stations than people got cars in black communities.
And
These
who run
conven-
those service
these
stations?
convenience stores. And what do they
Who run
sell?
those convenience stores? Not black people.
Foreigners. No, foreigners. Because we make it easy for them. Because Bill Clinton's tax credit, uh, not Obama's, but uh,
Trump? Who?
Trump's tax credits encourage that kind of development, and these people take advantage of it. Now,
Mhm,
could black folks take advantage of it? I'm sure, but it just shows how different things are structured. That's why you have all those convenience stores with those no name service stations and stuff like
mhm,
that. At one point in history, back in the day, black people used to own Esso service stations.
mhm,
I'm just saying, and those are our substitute supermarkets. They sell everything that supermarkets sell, but it's
mhm.
at twice or three times the price. That's why it's
And
called a convenience store.
we
But
always
who
talk
allowed?
about black people owning stuff, but in America, it's been very difficult for black people to ever own anything. And that's where they want us in these little project communities so
But
we
see,
don't own anything.
brother Bay and brother Ken. At some point in our existence, we got to stop saying what we can't do and start doing what we can do. I mean, and start supporting people that understand this, what needs to be done, and support that kind of vision, you
Mhm,
know. And, because like I say, America, it, it's never going to, this political system, we can, I've been working, I don't think that in presidential elections, all the delegates should go to the winner. I think it should be proportional. It's the
mhm,
same that Trump wins Texas and he get off 38 of the electoral votes. And
mhm,
if Harris gets 49% of the vote, she walks away with nothing.
mhm,
So there are ways to change the political system. Lonnie
mhm,
Grenier, she lost that seat on the Supreme Court because she was talking about proportional representation and other ways to engage more Americans in the political process. But it's a
mhm,
winner take all system, man. I mean,
mhm.
this country was
Why do
formed
you
on that
think
basis.
we're so complacent to what's happening in America? Why do you think we just don't give a damn? We just gonna keep doing our job and getting our little money, paying our little bills, sending our kids to the school that don't give a damn about them? Why do we stay in this cycle of stupidity in
I,
my mind?
because I think that's what we've been conditioned to do. I think it's part of the
So we've been conditioned to do
because
that.
think about it, brother. I mean, you're raised in America. You're educated in this system, and by the time you figure it out yourself, you know, you're looking at the funeral director almost. I mean,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
in order to unlearn what America has what this system has taught
It
you,
made us learn.
it takes a lifetime.
Mhm,
And then rather than arguing for policies that will break us away from this cycle, like we support public education to the death. And
mhm.
public education in its current form may not be the best type of education. Maybe
Not for
maybe we
our
need our
people.
own.
The
Maybe we
curriculum is not designed for black
right.
people.
So
The
why can't
tests that they have are not designed for black people.
so why don't we support charter schools?
Why
Because
they what?
why don't we support the charter schools, a private school movement? Because schools are
I've always
segregated.
advocated that the public school need to be shut down.
because the unions and the Democratic Party supports public education. Even
And Donald Trump is going to eliminate the Department of Education.
and and the only reason we got a Department of Education was because of the racist nature of education in this country that system don't exist no more. So maybe we need.
Doesn't
But what
make
I'm
a
saying,
difference,
but
right?
what I'm saying, brother Bay, is we- we're not willing to. What we do is we have a system. We have a two-party system. One is good and one is bad. We don't look at what's best for us. Everything in the system that we view as good is a historical perspective. You know,
Mm,
everything that we look at as bad is a historical perspective. We're not
mm,
looking at what's in our best interest today. We're just
mm.
voting along. We say, okay, we got a two-party system. One system is bad, all of it, and one system is good, all of it. And you look at
So, so I want to make sure when we close down today that our listeners got an avenue to follow, at least to one step better than where they are. So give me your recommendation on that one step better than be for the poor. They can do one simple thing that will elevate them to another level or a higher level.
I think I think I think one thing that they could do is vote. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of whether they vote for the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, the people that get elected know who voted. They know what area of town you're from when you vote. They know your economic because all that data is part of the process. So I think voting, everybody can do. And I'm not
Mm,
telling you who to vote. I don't think you have to vote all Democratic or all Republican, but just vote. That's your
mm,
voice. That's the
mm,
only voice really in this two-party system, in this America system, where you
mm,
do have where you can make a difference. Vote.
mm,
You
mm.
know.
Okay. Well, Ken, do you have a comment on that?
I'm good. I'm good. Everything sounds good to me. So I'm gonna advance on that. What was
Mm,
discussed today, and then the next time we come in, I can voice my opinion on what I think is for the best interest for uh, what I think the best interest for us to move forward to make it all and put it in place and put it in movement and
mm,
stuff. That's the whole idea. Is
mm,
the talking is fine, but getting it in motion, get some movement started,
mm,
get people involved, man. Because it's got to be a way. I always remember that if you put out some free cheese, people gonna come out and get that free cheese. You know what I'm saying? If you give anything free, they gonna come out and get whatever's free. And that's how you get their attention. At the same time, don't give it up until they show up.
mm,
Then they find out what it's all about. 'Cause I've seen it many times. I did have campaigns and stuff, to voting campaigns and stuff, man. And we gave away free barbecue, and people just showed up and sit out there and eat and stuff, and sit there and listen to what was going on, to listen to the campaign and stuff of what the person that's running for office. Listen, but they just sitting there eating. But that's one way of getting. That's what I experienced on the east side. How you get people to come out because they always anything you're gonna give for free, they're gonna show up, and
mm,
that's where some of the funding that you raise in the political thing to help for that matter to get people to go out and put out signs and all that kind of stuff. It's the old way they used to do it back in the day. Some of them campaign leaders would give churches, them ministers money to get their people to get out and put out signs and raise, do campaign stuff and everything. That's what they used to do. But I think where to be more strength, you got to get these churches involved, man. That's where most of the people are in these churches.
mm,
We get to these preachers, man, and these preachers are come out and listen. They know what's going on, but they don't have time to do it. But if you got some leaders that's going to step out and step up and make their voice heard and be strong when they speak and with a little sincerity, you know, it's not like they don't know. They do know. you know, they know everything what we talking about. On this like this station.
mm,
Everything we talk about, they know all about it. Like something that they don't know. But it's just the idea of pursuing it, and getting it, putting it in motion. That's the
Mhm.
whole idea.
Well, let me say one thing. I think that the cities and the states do something that they need their butt kicked behind it. They do look good incentives to communities. And those look good incentives to communities don't give the community, the poor people, anything more than what they have. But it sounds good that you're going to build a new project over here. It sounds good that you're going to pay more on our rent. It sounds good that you're going to ensure the landlords do a better job. But none of those policies will put a dollar in your pocket. And that is the problem. Even raising the minimum wage to $15 will not solve the problem because it'll domino effect on something else. Because the poor of the poor will not be able to get a job because they have a lack of skill. And I think that the only thing we can do as Black people to move ourselves to another level, one, we got to have a skill. And we're short on carpenters, plumbers, HVAC people, and little things like that. If we went to that vocational school, there's one in San Antonio, by the way. It's a vocational high school on San Antonio off W. White Road. But if you look at all the schools, by say 15 years ago, they had vocational training in the school systems. But I guess they saw too many African Americans taking those courses and coming out as in an apprenticeship and getting into that field. So they took it away and put it in a school by itself. But most people don't know about that school over there in the back. Black people come out of college, out of high school, not knowing how to survive. So I'm saying to parents as well, keep your kids at home till they're about 21, because you're gonna put them out there and they're gonna get in the wrong damn direction. So they gotta vote though. The last thing I'm gonna say is they gotta vote and they gotta have an incentive to vote. I mean, if they don't understand the whole system about voting, they're not gonna vote. They're not gonna register. They don't give a shit about that. They ain't got time for that. They too busy playing them whatever they call them games. I still call it Nintendo, and they too busy listening to rap songs. They can tell the rap songs used to have a meaning, but I ain't gonna go there. All right, for in closing, about we want to know who those people are behind the people, Claude and Ken. Give me your closing presentation, your closing comments about how you feel about the people behind the people that support the poor people.
Ken, you want to go first? I'll let you
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
bro.
Well, if I understand the question, the closing would be, what do we do? What do we do now? And it's complicated. But I think we have to unravel our past and understand our past and understand our place in America today. We have every freedom to do everything that you just described about the type of workforce development that we have. We have the freedom to vote, even though states are trying to restrict that right and make it a little bit more difficult. There's nothing embedded in the law that prevents us from voting. So I just think that we have to support those organizations and support those entities that are trying to reach down and lift people out of wherever they find themselves in society. But I think there has to be a level of accountability. I think that for me in my profession, in terms of politics, is I've had to unravel that whole thought process of politics because I used to think that we've gone from relying solely on the preacher to relying solely on the politician that looks like us, the preacher that looks like us. I think at some point we got to rely on ourselves and believe in ourselves and just get up off our ass and do what we need to do. Because I mean, I just think it's time out for excuses. No one can say I didn't know, or I don't know how to get down to city hall to a city hall meeting, or I don't know how to pick up the phone and call this person. So I think we're at the point of no more excuses, because I think I mean, man, we don't live in America no more. We live in the world, and the world is leaving us as a people behind. And so I think that we just gotta come to the conclusion of no more excuses, and and start realizing that, and stop letting people take us for granted. Either party taking us for granted. The, these parties can do things specifically for every group but us, and they say that they can't do stuff just for us, and it ain't just white politicians. Barack Obama said, "I can't do something just for black people." Kamala Harris just said, "I can't do nothing for black people," but yet they can do something specifically for Asian people. They can do things specifically for Native Americans, but for some reason, you can't do nothing specifically for black folks. The people that basically helped build this country. There wouldn't be a country without black folks. And you can't do something specifically for us, and we don't challenge that. We don't respond to that. So I think that we just got to stop making excuses, my brothers. I think we know what needs to be done, and we know how to go find. If we don't know what needs to be done, we can go find out. And there are people, and this show is part of that. BNN 247 is part of that process of information, of a place you can come and go to find out what you need to do. We should have thousands of listeners on this program every Sunday, but they're not here. So we need to go spread the gospel about BNN 247 and get people to tune in, because we want to hear from them too.
It starts in the churches, man.
Well, I think
these churches are where majority of the members are more. That's where you get to the gathering of the memberships in the churches. But all these churches got full of members.
Right.
All you have to do is get with these preachers, let you come in and speak on behalf, to address the issues, and to tell how important these issues are and stuff. And I bet you once a group, we get a committee to go in these different churches, man, and make our voice being said, you'd be surprised all the stuff that'll come out. Those churches, man, because that's where it starts at, in the churches.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, the churches are part of our institutional structures that are part of Black life, and you're exactly right. But programs.
Yeah, it starts in churches. I know. These preachers. Yeah. These preachers know what's going on, man. They know.
Yeah.
But they want to see other people involved. Just like I remember, if y'all don't remember this here, remember we scheduled that town hall meeting. That was a big thing, man. That would have been a start right there, but it just, I don't know what Chuck did or why he canceled or what, but that was going to be a big issue right there, because we had people in line to speak in their behalf at that town hall meeting. That's what you say, we need to step up. That was a time we should have stepped up. But whatever happened, it dissolved, deteriorated.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to that. I sit back and listen.
We've heard,
brother.
We've heard comments from our brother Foster and our brother Ken, and I want to just give you my little closing statement. One thing we talked about is that we got to go back and start from the basics and kind of get rid of all these false things that have been instilled in the Black community, and that we can't do certain things. We are self-limiting ourselves from progress. So don't ever tell yourself that you can't do something because of this or because of that. Go and do it. Like he said, there's no more excuses. We got to be a better person from here, from your heart. You got to put that out there in front, not depending on nobody and nothing, but that you can get out of that system if you really want to. And you got to take the plunge. Life is a risk. Every time you wake up in the morning and step foot on that porch or on the ground, it's risky because you can get shot right in your house. So thing is, don't think that you're safe by not voting or by not doing this or by not saying anything at your job. You need to get busy because we're headed for a damn sorry ass place. And I hope they don't get to the point where they're gonna round us up like they did the Japanese and put the black folks in one particular area. They ran the black people all the way to Oklahoma from the East Coast going west. They pushed them back. They did that for years. But the main thing I want to mention it today is that the churches, according to Ken and I and Claude, the churches are our major starting point. They
That's
got
right.
the people in the city attending their services every single Sunday, but I don't see a political agenda in the churches. And only thing we would have to do is get them to understand how important it is to make everyone under their control to go register to vote. And if all these churches had people voting, man, it would be an awesome damn force. We would be
Yep.
where we need to be. The second thing is we got to know our heritage because when you don't know who you are, you just exist in a country, it hurts. People don't recognize you if you don't know who you are. If you ever figure out who you are and let it be known that you know who you are, then you'll start to get the respect that you're supposed to get. Our heritage and our ancestors are the key to us getting where we need to go. If you don't go to church or even in church, you got to learn your history because before you start speaking English, you had a language. Before you start going to church, you had a religion. You allowed your stuff to be put on the back burner until now. It is time for you to take your religion and your language back to the front as a priority. Figure it out, do the research, ask one of us about your past or about our past as Black people. But the bottom line is we don't have what it takes to be recognized in this country. And that is everybody thinks the 14th Amendment gave us citizenship, but Abraham Lincoln said in his executive will that Black people have to do something before they become American citizens. And we have not done that thing, what he said we should do. And it's so simple. We should take the oath of amnesty. When you go in the military, well, that's the first thing you do, take the oath of amnesty. Now you're an official citizen in the country. Why you got to take it when you get to the recruiting office if you're a citizen already? They know the deal. Why did you in the military? I was in the military. The first thing you do, you put your hand up and take the oath of amnesty. But if it wasn't important for you as a Black person in America, they wouldn't have us doing that as the first thing. And I think that we have to realize that we are not part of a nation, so we're not internationally recognized. So that's a problem. When you're not internationally recognized, you can't get a Chinese legislated law. You can't get an American Indian legislated law. You can't get those things because you don't have a body recognized. You ain't, I don't want to say you ain't shit, but I want to say your heritage is not
Right.
important to America because you don't recognize a nation. You can't go to let's say you go to Korea and somebody walk up to you and they say, well, okay, what's your nationality, brother? What you gonna say? You can't say Black is not a nationality. African American is not a nationality. And you're definitely not a U.S. citizen, even though they claim that you are. So learn your nationality. If you get that and get it on your record, then you are in a different category in America. So right now, when they call martial law. I'm not saying if, I'm saying when they call martial law on a city in this country for people rioting or doing whatever, you're going to see that there are certain black people that they don't bother. And those are the people with the nationality. Because you don't have a nationality, you're subjected to what they can do to you, the police. So with that, I want to thank you for watching the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA. I am Brother War Smith. Our co-host today is Brother Ken Mills and Brother Claude Foster. This is a show that airs every single Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Invitation for you and anybody that would like to come on and voice their opinion about it. You're welcome to come on to the show. We would love to entertain your question. And I thank you for watching. But remember, we don't own the music, but we do own what we say. And I want to thank these brothers for joining me today. And now we're going to get ready to close out and say what we say. But if you don't have your nationality, that's going to be a problem for you. You see down at the bottom, there's a scroll. It says help support BNN 247. Basically, you can go to the Cash App and make a donation and help us grow from where we are to where we need to be. We got to increase our viewing. And I would hope that you would go to our YouTube page and subscribe, or go to our Facebook page and like us and leave a comment. It don't cost you nothing. Thank you so much for being a part of the Black News Network.